started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Marketing Matters. I'm Sarah Touchstone, Landmark Titles, social media marketing strategist and educator, and I have the pleasure of hosting Marketing Matters with y'all wonderful people every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We're going to dive into our topic today because we've got a lot to cover in a little amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to toss the ball over to Scott Kiburz, who is joining us today. You might recognize Scott from our Market Insights webinar that we do the first Thursday of the month. He brings us the stats, facts, and figures. But today, he's bringing us the stats, facts, and figures from Inman 2022. Scott, take it away.
Hi, everybody out there. Thanks.
Oh, you're still muted, Scott.
Okay, good day, everybody. My name is Scott Kiburz. I'm going to give you just a quick 30-minute summary of the Inman conference that just happened earlier this month. There's a lot of knowledge share happening here. I hope it lands and it becomes important to some of the people out here in the audience. Sarah and your team, thank you for having me be part of this. The number one comment I'd like to make today is we have moved from a market of speed, where speed was the focus. Go back 90 days before we started having some price turns, and it was a speed-based market. And the message from Inman was that we've gone from a speed-based market to a skills-based market. And so the goal today is ideas into actions. Now, some of these ideas for a newer agent or a newer broker could be brand new. For those who have been around for a number of downturns in the market, remembering or relearning is still learning. The point is ideas into action. Sarah? So want to just launch into this again with John Burns, a big shift in his book from 2016 that influences in our real estate market as we've crested at the peak back in June. June was our first month that we've ever had a downcrease in pricing in just essentially 10 years, and that the economy, technology, government, and societal shifts are all having influence in our market. And so Inman did a great job of providing skills and messaging about skills to its audience. So Sarah, next. So we want to review some of the comments about the real estate market in general, the headlines from Inman, and then some of their deeper, more purposeful messaging. Sarah? So just here recently, this was news as of the 16th of August that we're going to lose 21% of the Colorado river rights in 2023. That's going to change our local market. Sarah? This was a few weeks ago, early July, when Governor Ducey announced legislation of over $1 billion to find ways to move our water, to make it more acceptable. I had one broker tell me, Scott, we really don't have a water problem. We have a water location problem. But please know the governor's committed $1 billion to help move that forward. Sarah? So as we move into Inman, I just want to recap the phrase, we're moving away from a speed-based marketplace to a skill-based. And then I like this quote from Nick Bailey, the CEO of Remax. We are going to build, buy, and bundle technology to better serve our agents and clients. That to me is speed to the market and bringing best class as quick as we can. Ben Kenny, whose company now is called Place, was up on stage one-on-one with Brad Inman and talked about being liquid, being profitable, and growing. And I loved this message. So here's a billionaire been created in the real estate world, primarily in the Northeast of things. But his message was, ladies and gentlemen, what our market needs is more empathy. And he said it again, more empathy, more kindness. Now think of somebody who's quiet, more of an introvert personality, essentially shouting at the rooftops. That's what our market needs. So a lot more cooperation and communication. Sarah? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Delpre, and he was the keynote opener. He's a researcher, study of all companies from technology and brokerages. And his conversation, Sarah, if you'll go again. Everybody's coming out at the agent commissions, but what he pointed out in one of his slides, and I apologize, this was a picture of the big screen, but I got the part I wanted, that, ladies and gentlemen, we're using agents 90% in all transactions today. And that's the second highest all time. It was 2016-17 where we hit 91%. What he's really saying is, ladies and gentlemen, the realtor is still center field to the transaction and needed more than ever. Sarah? Ladies and gentlemen, there is $80 billion of real estate commissions available for buying and selling and leasing real estate, $80 billion a year in the US market. At that same time, today in 2022, there is approximately $80 billion being invested in what we call prop tech, property technology, new innovative companies. And this is a list of all the companies in prop tech. That's what he wanted to illustrate for you. This is from Michael Del Pre. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a little bit of insight happening on investment by VC companies investing in real estate in the US. And in 2021, we hit 18.8 billion done by investors. Sarah? Zillow Premier Agent is evolving. And as it's evolved, what's happening here is they're gone from selling leads per zip code into really partnering with top agents, consulting, listening in, making sure you're following up with buyers and sellers properly. But they're also taking a much bigger percent of the commission as a result. And it's becoming much more of their business model and their profit model. Just a data point. Sarah? So Michael Del Pre, again, he had several drop the mic statements, but this was his closing sentence. Agents are still center part of the transaction, again, 90%. The stakes are higher because there's all this money being invested in prop tech, and that's at a very high percent. Change is happening, the speed to change is happening faster than ever before. There's a lot going on in our space. And the 2022 WTF, that was the title of his presentation. That's what's happening in a couple sentences. Sarah? All right, so interesting to know that as Zillow got out of the iBuyer piece just about, well, they started and stopped, started about 3 years ago, got out about not quite a year ago. Opendoor has spent more money advertising in the first 6 months of this year than they did all of 2021. And they basically have their foot down on the gas moving forward as the center of excellence for being an iBuyer. Sarah? And then here are these two companies just 2 years ago that were head to head in the iBuyer space. Zillow's market cap came down as much as $20 billion. But they just announced August 10th that they're going to be working together in the future. That Zillow's core competency of having eyeballs on their website, Opendoor is growing into the #1 iBuyer in our marketplace. And they're moving ahead full steam together. One of the breakouts in New York last week at the C5 said, it's going to take them a year to get closer to perfection, but they shot the gun of confetti and announced this is what we're doing. That's their new North Star. Sarah? Last but not least, in about Opendoor's advertising spend, their purchases, that they've already bought more homes in 2022 than they did all of 2021. Sarah? Ladies and gentlemen, there was a real great keynote. The author of this book, Derek Thompson, who talked about marketing. And again, as we move away from a speed-based market to a skills-based market, there's marketing that has to take place. And his insight of what he invented called the Maya rule, most advanced yet acceptable, landed hard in a good way to everybody in the attendance of the Inman conference. Sarah? And so what he talked about, like, this man has done a lot of creative things, from inventing the Coca-Cola bottle. One of his more famous interventions, most acceptable yet, most advanced yet acceptable, he was asked to help to build the spaceship for Apollo 13, the rocket. And he's like, well, what do we need to do inside this rocket for our people flying? And his idea was the window, so they could look back at Earth. And that was paramount. They had to then figure out how to make that safe, but they didn't want the astronauts to lose sight of the Earth. Sarah? One of the last things that this man did in his lifetime is he sat down with President Kennedy in the White House with some glue, scissors, and construction paper. This is Air Force One for Kennedy. Next slide. This author and President Kennedy designed with crayons and pencils the current Air Force One. And that's just industry and design. And I wanted to include this message to the audience out here because people are going to get back to a skills-based market, from open houses, previewing things, social media, door knocking. And maybe there's some things that have been advanced, but they still need to be acceptable. And that's just a great way of looking at, sometimes you just need to be 10% new to capture the market. Sarah? These are just a quick review of some of the headlines that have happened. I like the second one here from the Atlantic. Derek Thompson talked about culture and economics is where the magic happens. I've always enjoyed the phrase, ladies and gentlemen, where there is leadership and culture, people stay. If they don't find leadership and culture, people will move on and they probably won't come back. Sarah? Our local Chelsea Pites, I believe it's pronounced, talked about social media and the differential strategy there. Big trends facing and opportunities for brokerages. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the folks from a company called Real Trends spoke about there is a silver tsunami of merger acquisition happening, that the number of brokerages at the national stage has never been bigger in terms of wanting to find out the evaluation of their brokerage so they can do a merger, have an acquisition, buy, sell. That's important. And then last but not least, I know there's a lot of Buffini fans out there. I'm one of them. The recession is coming, but we're not participating. They're just saying, ladies and gentlemen, just keep doing your basic blocking, tackling, be highly relational, communicative. People buy from people they like and communicate that. Sarah? Again, more headlines. What do the teams want? That was a great breakout. New strategies for leveraging your local brand, a local center of excellence versus national. Lessons learned, what should the brokerage be prioritizing? The most common topic shared at Inman, and there were 5 different presentations on the shift in marketing, beat the shift, etc. And that is just an example of resetting your business as we move into a skills-based model. Sarah? Staying relevant. Again, Nick Bailey talking about merger acquisition shift. There was one hour breakout on NAR and the mandate that's happening with all the big civil cases that are happening in the real estate world. And there's just a hint of that, but that's real, that's happening, and that's going to have an impact on our market from a governmental side of things. Sarah? One of the breakout sessions was done by Homeward and 3 other folks that all do alternative financing. So sometimes they'll let you, I'm giving you an example. I want to buy a bigger home. I want to buy the 600,000 3-bedroom, 2-bath because I have twins on the way. And my significant other spouse, we can't stay in the 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo. I found my dream home. I found where I want to go, but I haven't got my house sold yet. So there's companies like Homeward and Knock and Divvy and other companies that are providing a lane to help you buy the next house as you sell the current house. Maybe they buy your current house, maybe they do a bridge loan or something in between. Here's the point. What they're saying is, when we look at the transaction for buying and selling houses today, the number one most uncertain aspect is the financing from the buyer. We got a pre-qual, pre-approved pre-qual. Sometimes the lender can't perform. Sometimes something happens and the buyer can't perform. Sometimes the buyer makes that grave mistake of buying a new car in the middle of escrow. So what they're saying is, in the next 5 years, that transactions may look and feel like a cash transaction to the seller, that everything is going to perform and go forward. And that is one of the shifts happening in the next 5 years. And there's a multitude of companies that are getting ready to play in that space or already playing in that space. Sarah? Quick insight on the amount of space junk. Sarah, next slide. So the gentleman, Mayabu, the gentleman on the far left spoke. He's a PhD researcher, doctor. Wojciechowski is in center, the co-founder of Apple. And so I wanted you to put a name and a face, but these people are studying space, the amount of things we're launching into space. Please know that on the coast of Florida, where Arizona is enjoying new chip technology coming our way and a big warehouse capability in Luke Air Force Base. Those are some of our core competencies and strengths in our local economy. Up and down the east coast of Florida is a big space launch, SpaceX technology. And what they're talking about is the amount of junk in space that's trackable and untrackable. Sarah? So there's currently about 27,000 items that are as big as a softball that are in space, but the total amount of debris floating could be 100 million pieces. And it has no trajectory, it's just floating out there. And what does that look like? I'm not trying to put fear or anything out there, but please know, ladies and gentlemen, people think about this and it's relative because, again, Florida is launching a lot of things into space in terms of drones and satellites. Sarah? Next slide, we'll pass through that. So knowing that there were 5 key speakers on the topic of the shift, I just want to include a little bit about that for the audience. So part 1, the law of equilibrium, is part 1 of shift. It's one of 12, Sarah. And the law reads that the equilibrium is an old real estate law. It's straightforward. It's the amount of income that's available creates the number of agents or members who are playing in that space. So when commissions rise, more volume is happening, more people get into the real estate business or any business. And if it contracts, people exit or vacate that. That's a law of equilibrium. That's part 1 of the shift. And so please note, as a personal note, last year this time, we had approximately 43,000 plus subscribers to the Arizona Regional MLS. Today, it's in the 41,000. It's already down a couple thousand agents from where we were a year ago. And that's part of the law of equilibrium at work. Sarah, the next slide. So these are the other 11 parts of the 12 tactics of the shift. What I wanted to point out are just a couple key ones here. On the left-hand column, second one down, remargin your business. Look at all your expenses and create, like, is this a red light? I need to stop doing this, or I need to get a bigger return on this before I spend that, or green light, I can't afford not to be doing this. The other one that I think is paramount is top right, price ahead of the market. If you're used to homes selling in a weekend and with 20 different offers coming in, and there's only 3 homes in the neighborhood, now we've got 3 months of inventory. One key client that we've worked with, there were 5 homes for sale when we listed. There are 27 homes in the area, and they've gone from 35 homes in the zip code to 300 in the zip code. And the seller wants to know, why is my home not selling? Now, let me just do another ad lib right here. This was communicated at Inman, and it's not on a slide. Ladies and gentlemen, the institutional buyers, the iBuyers, as they've gone to sell off their property, they look at that transaction as a business transaction. I'm making this up. I have a listing, it's $400,000. It doesn't sell in 10 days. I lower the price to $390, $385, $380. It doesn't sell in a week. I lower it again. It doesn't sell that week. I lower it again until I get it sold and off my books. There's no emotional attachment. I'm very comfortable doing weekly price reductions to get into the market, to get picked off. Ladies and gentlemen, people that have lived in their home for a period of time are emotionally attached, and that's what they were pointing out. Like, I list my home at 400. I think it's worth that. It doesn't sell. I might wait 3 or 4 weeks before I agree with the listing agent to lower the price. In that time, the market is already moved again and again. And so I take what I think is a significant price reduction and I still miss. And I end up writing the price down, and I'm frustrated as a seller, and I don't understand why. These are tactics to have conversations with as a listing agent, with your seller in advance. We have to take the emotion out of the transaction and get in the market. Last but not least on this slide is the bottom right, bulletproof the transaction. And this is where your lender partners come into, your home inspectors, home warranty, and your title. It's just got to be perfect. We're doing fewer transactions and they just have to be perfect. How do we bulletproof the transaction? How do we communicate that? Focus on that. Sarah? Again, just as a reminder, buyer's market, balanced market, seller's market. Ladies and gentlemen, it was brought to our attention, and I think my percentages are very close. 67% of the transactions in the last 18 months were done by agents with less than 2 years experience in the market. And per Michael Mayer and the 7 Levels of Communication, I'm a new agent. 4 out of my first 5 transactions usually happen from friends and family. So I can be new. There's high trust because this is a family member, and I'm helping people buy and sell. But if you say, hey, in the last 4 years or the last 40 years, in the last 40 years, how many years has interest rates been 4% or less? It's 3. And those 3 years are the previous 3 years. So if you've had less than 4 years of real estate experience, you've not experienced interest rates north of 4 until the last few months. You've not seen anything but an escalation clause and multiple offers. How do I do an open house? How do I door knock? How else do I build relationships? These are some basic blocking and tackling in a normal market that we're entering. Right now, we're about 3 months of inventory in Maricopa County. Numbers will be out early next week on the 1st. I think that's Thursday. Can't wait to get our hands on that to see how much movement has happened in the month of August. Sarah? Profitability, the lost art of making more than you spend. That was a drop the mark, Mike, laugh out loud from the audience for the person who put that up on the slide. We have to be profitable. This is a business, ladies and gentlemen. So remargining your expenses, all that, doing more with less is important to stay profitable. Sarah? Next gen lead gen, what does that look like? How can you come alongside as a title business development person or a lender? How can you come alongside the agent? How can the agent come alongside you for a next level lead generation process? And with that, think again of that Maya concept, most advanced yet acceptable, and create something that's just slightly new, 10% new, and capture market. Sarah? This quote from Gary Keller. This is the second year that this slide has been on the stage. We're losing so slowly, we think we're winning. Ladies and gentlemen, remargin your business. I know Gary Keller has already through 4 sets of layoffs at corporate in Austin. They're remargining their business. Sarah? I wanted to illustrate this slide. This is taken from the big screen up top in the paragraph consortia. That's what I want you to remember from this slide. That is a company that's focused on blockchain and coin-based buying and selling. Note, please, here that they keep the real estate agent center field to the transaction, but those slides around, those bullet points around the outside are changing slightly due to blockchain and the metaverse. Sarah? And what they're saying in this one, this is from my personal notes, that we came out with Web 1.0, then 2.0. We're right now about 2.5. In the 3.0 metaverse with blockchain is we can do more buying and selling on the internet, and that AI is data driven, and they're going to look at certainty in our marketplace. And for those who didn't know, or like myself, blockchain is nothing more than a spreadsheet, a ledger to events about the house. And one person spoke up as if it's the Carfax. It's everything that's ever been done to this house, from title, repairs, etc. It's all in there about this house. That's what they're trying to get to. Sarah? This was new to me, that the Fed is actually looking at creating a coin of their own, like a Bitcoin, etc. And what they're looking for in this market is certainty. Let that stand out. We want buyers to perform. We want sellers to perform. We want the paperwork, the flow, the recordation, all to perform. We want certainty. And they're going to keep putting technology into our transactions to help with certainty. Sarah? It's a quick overview of CoStar. CoStar was deemed the company of the year at Inman. CoStar has been on a little bit of a buying spree the last few years in the residential world, one buying CoreLogic and HomeBot and others. And Inman deemed them the company of the year award winner. These are some of the things that they've done globally. Sarah? Divvy was pointed out as a transaction of the future. I've heard about this company now for several years now. They're a local center of excellence. They got a very pure intent, and they too were pointed out as a center of excellence at Inman. Sarah? Just a quick heads up, ladies and gentlemen, fan of this lady, our previous commissioner, Judy Lowe, who's now officially the CEO, not interim CEO, official CEO of Tucson MLS. That was announced this month. Sarah? Downturns in the market. I want to spend a minute here with the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been 5 downturns in modern history with the housing industry happening. What the speaker of this segment pointed out is this: every downturn is different, and the reasons why it has to do with finance, has to do with the savings and loan debacle, and other things. This one here with inflation, war, politics, all that stuff is happening. And so while you can say, oh, I've been around the block a little bit and I've lived through some downturns, what the speaker of this message, this breakout, wanted to share is it's different. You know, we've migrated through a pandemic. We have changed societal, working from home. That's more and more the norm. And that there's been huge disruption. And so we're not going back to the way it was pre-pandemic. It's going to be change. Right now, there's a good vibe in the industry, but change is happening at a frequency that is faster than ever before. Sarah? So this is what today's agents are looking for. This is what a realtor, buyer agent, listing agent needs, is strengthen their database, being able to handle objections. So there might be some script practice or just handling objections are important. They need to advance or amplify their influence. How do they do that? Is it with market knowledge, contract knowledge? Is it being highly relational, building your own brand, overcoming price issues, creating loyalty? That's what everybody wants, monogamy in business. I want to work with you as my lender, my title, whenever I can, and there's speed to trust or advanced trust that happens. The other thing that folks are looking for is, hey, am I just destined to be an agent to help buy and sell, or am I looking to make this my career, and what does that look like? Last but not least is understanding finance. Seller concessions is probably the most talked about thing in the last 90 days, but we didn't talk about it for multiple years because the sellers didn't have to do that. So get with your lender partners and truly understand finance and how to leverage that for your buyers and sellers. Sarah, is this the last slide? Yes.
I think so, yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, I follow Lawrence Yun. So he is the chief economist for NAR, based out of Chicago, but he travels and he speaks at a lot of events that I've been fortunate to attend. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when I had the privilege to speak with this person one-on-one in May of this year, I asked him as he got off the stage, I said, sir, I'm in Phoenix and I follow numbers real closely, and the nation is looking like it will have up to a 10 to 13% decrease in home prices for the year. But I would like to know your perspective on Phoenix directly. And ladies and gentlemen, he took his hand and he drew kind of a straight line with a slight dip, and he did it a second time. And he said, Scott, if there is a dip, Phoenix will be the first city to go, or the last city to go down and the first to bounce up. Well, I just saw him last week in New York, and I reminded him of that conversation. And the man is just a walking encyclopedia of economic stats for our nation. And so I asked him again, in terms of Phoenix, we We had our first price reduction in home prices in June of this year. We're off about $15 a square foot on average currently. And I said, what does that look like for Arizona? He goes, well, Scott, you're fortunate to have about a 30% increase last year. And I reminded him that, yes, it was 29 and some change. And we were up in the low 20s the year before and high teens the year before that. He goes, Scott, I anticipate a 5% decrease in Phoenix for the year. I said, thank you. And I had two more quick things that are noteworthy. I said, tell me about the economics of loan mortgage rates. And what he shared back was this: if a buyer is getting a loan that's longer than 10 years, if a buyer's getting a loan for more than 10 years, that interest rate that's out there now is kind of baked into any future increase by the Fed in basis points. If a buyer is getting a loan that is less than 10 years or has some variables in there, that could be more susceptible to any increase in basis points that the Fed may do, which could happen as soon as September and possibly before the end of the year. I thanked him profusely, told him to keep leading. And I got back and ran the numbers at our price reduction. And it's currently 5.8% for all Maricopa County. We're down 5.8%, almost to the point of what he shared with us in New York last week. So wanted to share that quick oversight of Marketing Matters, a summary of Inman and what was shared. We've moved away from a speed-based market to a skills-based. So ladies and gentlemen, keep raising your skills. I appreciate Sarah and the team at Landmark. Always a good time.
Right. All right. Thank you, Scott. Geez, that was a good presentation. And I'm telling you guys, the second time around, it was honestly even better. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. Scott, I think you said you got to get out of here, right?
I got yet another call.
Yep. Scott's a busy man today.
It all landed today. But thank you, Sarah. You guys do a great job and hope this was helpful to your audience.
Thank you, Scott. And guess what, guys? You can catch Scott again next week, right here on our webinar, first Thursday. So it's actually going to be September 1st. So information comes out at what, 3 a.m.?
Between 3 and 6 a.m. and we'll present at 9:30.
3 and 6 a.m. So if you want to catch the latest in marketing stats and numbers and trends, hop on our 9:30 a.m. Market Insights webinar. That's going to be next week. And I'm over here taking video of Scott. He's probably wondering what I'm doing. We're going to be putting out some promos for that because we really want you to join. Last month's was incredible, absolutely incredible. And this month, I mean, it's just gonna be even better. But it really is important to get on these and get the numbers right now. Numbers are they've never been more important than they are for your clients right now. So hop on that. I'm going to cover a couple of other classes that we have coming up. We've got our CE series. Next one's going to be on the 22nd of September. That's 3 hours of disclosure. These are all Zoom classes as well. So if you'd like a link for that, let me know. I'll get it to you. And then in September, yes, we are really pushing all the way through to September already. September 8th, we've got another CE class. This one's in person. This is hosted by Patty and Michael. It's going to be it's about appraisals, and it's 3 hours of general credit. And then we've got another one, Wednesday, September 14th. This is also in person. This is going to be in the West Valley as well. This is the impact of credit on real estate transactions. So if you'd like to attend this one, let us know as well. And then, of course, thank you to Scott Kiburz for being on. Thank you to Beth, Becky, Melinda, Mary, Patty, Michelle, up in Prescott, Michael, Tom, and Renee. Please consult them for any and all of your real estate marketing needs. And then, of course, consult Landmark Title on your next transaction. We'd love to be a part of your title and escrow experience. We love providing excellent customer service. We have 7 offices across the valley, as well as one in Prescott to service all of your and your clients' needs. So look forward to seeing you guys next week here on Marketing Matters. And of course, next week on Market Insights. Y'all have a fantastic day.